and salutations, it's me, Salty. Welcome back to Cheese and Soys, and today I'm finally going over Scareglow, and this one came from Amazon, as you might be able to tell.
No, 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 no.
And I had to swallow my pride and pay a little bit above the market price just because he is 100% sold out everywhere. I haven't been able to find any available pre-orders anywhere, and I have yet to see anything beyond Wave 1 and physically in any store that I've been to, and I've driven across the country during my move. So it was sold by a third-party seller on Amazon with Prime shipping, and I guess the third-party seller felt like they needed to ship it like Amazon would. I don't know, they crammed it into basically just a square box, like the card was almost completely folded over the figure, split here, and you can see all the veins from where they just cramped it down into a box like that. Luckily, I'm an opener. If I wasn't, we'd be having a very different conversation. I tried to contact the seller through Amazon, basically let them know, like, not cool. They lucked out with me that I'm an opener, but if they sent this to someone who's an on-card collector, I don't imagine that their seller rating would be very high after this. All that aside, it's reminiscent of the card that we usually get. We're getting that Double Trouble comic behind him. Back of the card has the rest of Wave 2, which I finally own. Shows you the whole glowing gimmick with some really great artwork up here with him and Prince Adam and Clam Champ. There's that little sticker that the third party put on there. Anyway, I'm just going to peel the bubble off of here. We'll go over articulation. We'll stand them side by side next to a few things and call it a day. And here we have the Double Trouble comic book, which this one's all tore up and mangled because it really got stuck under that waffle pattern. So went over this with Trapjaw, Orko, and Manny faces, but for those that missed it, this is the interior of it. I like the artwork on it. It's a neat enough story, but not as cool as the Dimensional Doom one, I think. Now we have Scareglow's Halbrid, which is green, bright neon green. Not that I have a problem with that or anything. And I'm not sure who it was created for first, but it's the same mold as the Undertaker one. This could also be the Classics mold for all I know. I don't own that Scareglow. Actually, this is the only Scareglow I do own, but they are the same mold. Just pointing that out. And I know it's coming up a little bit blue on camera, but it is a dark purple in person. So if you have the WWE Motu Undertaker and you would rather have Scareglow have a purple Halbrid, that's where you get it. That leaves us with Scareglow, and I know initially they said he would have a cloth cape, and we ended up with a plastic one, which has a very strong kind of plastic odor to it. I don't know if it's the figure itself or if it's the cape, but he has a much stronger scent when the package is open compared to the other Motu origins. Maybe it's the chemicals that make him glow, or maybe it's the, high amount of rubber, silicone, whatever this is to make the cape. My main concern with the cape is that thin little thing of plastic down there at his chin. I'm worried about that snapping through play or excessive use or just over time. Luckily, it doesn't really affect articulation at all. So, because there's no peg or anything, it just floats. Speaking of paint, all this black is very surface level, so I feel like it wouldn't take much to scratch most of this off or scratch any of it. Something to be cognizant about if you're going to do a lot of handling and posing. Some of it does come down onto joints, which I guess is, kind of nice to see that it continues on, so you want to make a seam line like that, you can. I don't know, he has a much different paint application from the Undertaker, which we'll do a side-by-side here in a second, but he's also a little more yellow than I would have liked. I think there's a reason for that, and we'll go over it, but they had the chance to make him white or, even translucent or something, but I think there's a reason why it's this yellow. I can't prove it. I'm not a chemist. I don't know how any of that stuff works, but we'll go over it. Otherwise, this looks like the same kind of generic bad guy body mold like Skeletor, because we've got the kind of claws, we've got the fins on the forearms, we got the monster feet. There's no paint on the back, which I imagine you could probably just add your own if you really wanted to. Maybe I'll do that at some point, but probably not, to be honest with you. And that's what the back of the cape looks like. I'm probably going to peruse eBay and see about getting a custom cape, or maybe I might try to make my own. I'm by no means a seamstress, and I don't know anything about fabrics or how to make anything like this, really. But there's always there's a time to learn, I guess. And I might try my hand at it. Probably not, being honest with you. Let's go ahead and go over articulation, and then we'll do our side-by-side with Undertaker, our height comparisons, and we'll call this a day. You can look up that far, look down that far, side to side, of course, lots of tilt. If you shift the cape to the left or the right, depending on which arm you're using, the shoulder will spin 360 with no problems, come up to about a 90. Single joint in the elbow comes up that far, elbow swivel, wrist pivot in and out, swivel in the waist, kicks forward that far, kicks back that far, kicks out to almost a 90. Single joint in the knee comes up that far, knee swivel, boot swivel, ankle goes back, forward, and ankle rocker. So here's the WWE Motu Undertaker next to Scareglow. You know, I'm not going to talk about sculpt because they are different characters. You can see the difference how Scareglow looks significantly more yellow than Undertaker does. I'll show you here in a second, but I think it's because of the glow. I tried it off camera, and Scareglow glows significantly brighter than Undertaker does and holds it for longer. So I think maybe the chemical that does that, or whatever it is, because it's this kind of yellowish color, maybe that's why they went with that, was to make him glow brighter. That's what I think. I don't know. That's just based on the kind of circumstantial evidence that I have. They gave Undertaker Triclops' armor from the Motu Classics. We'll do some kind of part swapping around, see what we can see. Scareglow is a little bit taller, only because of the boots. They're a little bit longer than these boots are, not by much. Before I start swapping things around on these figures, I'll just take the armor off of Undertaker so we can look at the paint differences. So you can see they went with a much more angular design on Undertaker, where Scareglow's kind of swathy, I guess. It looks kind of runny. It's not as clean. It's a matter of preference, whichever one you like more. I kind of like the angular look, but that could just be the fact that it's kind of a dark purplish blue on white, where he just looks kind of yellow. You can see the paint on the arm, you know, is much different. I knew what they were going for with Undertaker. With Scareglow, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. You know, it's not clearly defined. It looks kind of like just an ink splotch, I guess, where like they were trying to design, you know, the spine right here and the ribs and all that. So I don't know, but let's go ahead and swap some stuff around. The easiest one is Scareglow with the purple Halbrid, which again I know looks blue on camera, but it is purple, I promise. Something I didn't really mention though is it is a bit of a struggle to get the Halbrid into this hand. That could just be on mine. I think the grip's a little tighter. Just a heads up on that. Here's Scareglow with Undertaker's armor, which is basically Trapjaw's armor in black. It's a little weird with the bare legs. I just really like the daggers on the back. But if you give him Undertaker's legs, I think it looks a little bit better. I mean, aside from the logos on the side, but you know, you can also swap out the boots, but there you go. This looks a little weird, I think. Just the colors don't quite match. And there's Scareglow's legs with the wrestling boots on, if you were curious. But snapping Undertaker together, you can really see the color difference there. So, I mean, you can go ahead and do the modular and swap the parts around them if you want to, but I don't think it's going to match super great. Also, I tried to put the cape on Undertaker, but because of his hair, it's not going to happen. There's just not enough room for it. And to go ahead and start our official side-by-sides, there they are next to each other. There he is next to Skeletor. There he is next to one of my other personal favorites, Trapjaw. There he is next to Vintage He-Man, next to the Wonder Bread He-Man that I made, and next to my favorite, Zodak. And in case you were curious, that's what he looks like on Panther. In case you were curious, that's what they look like under a black light. And there they are glowing side by side. You can see that Scareglow is significantly brighter. He's almost white on camera. He's glowing so bright. I mean, you can see my hand reflecting. And that's really all I got for you today. Kind of the end shot and a final height comparison. I have him here with the Fright Zone. I acquired this sometime before I moved and just never got a chance to really put it together. It's missing a few things, and you know, the gate's broken, so some of the usual suspects, like the puppet, of course, isn't here, but I don't really want that puppet anyway, perfectly honest with you, just because I know what happens if you lay that puppet on this plastic and leave it there. Packaging aside, I'm very happy that I finally have Scareglow. It was slightly more than what I wanted to pay for it, but it is nice to have him. At least I know I have waves 1 and 2 complete. Once I find She-Ra, wave 3 will be complete, and then it's on to wave 4 and 5 and 6 and all the other ones. They're just really releasing them at a pace that I have a hard time keeping up. But let me know what you think down below about Scareglow. I didn't know anything about Scareglow really until I started collecting toys, and I knew of him before I started collecting the Motu Origins. Just by nature of being in the toy community, you hear about people like Scareglow and Mosquitor and all of them. But I'd really love to know the obsession with Scareglow. Like, I think he's, you know, it's a glow-in-the-dark figure. I like glow-in-the-dark stuff. He's a skeleton. That's kind of cool. But it seems like most everyone I know or I've spoken to that were around in He-Man's heyday, like none of them really knew who Scareglow was. Like, people will always tell me, they're like, oh yeah, he was, you know, really popular after the fact, but like, I don't know anyone who like got him off the peg. So if you did, I'd love to hear your story about why you got him, why you picked him, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, if you like what you saw today and it's your first time on the channel, then all that asks is you click like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It's a great way to help me out, and I very much appreciate it when you do. And I do thank you all for stopping by today and spending some time with me. So until next time, I'm Salty, signing off.